Hey everyone, and welcome back. Get ready to explore something pretty amazing with us today. The line between the microbes living inside of us and cancer.
Yeah, it's a wild ride. We're
Ah,
talking about trillions of bacteria viruses, all those tiny tenants shaping our health in ways we're just starting to grasp.
We've all heard about the microbiome's connection to gut health, even things like our mood. But cancer, that's
It
wide.
really is, and this isn't just some fringe theory. We've got cutting-edge research to unpack.
Okay, so what kind of research are we talking about?
A 2024 study led by Zanshan Ma, or he goes by Sam and his team,
Okay.
they dove into the Cancer Genome Atlas. That's like the Library of Congress for cancer genetic data.
Hmm.
But they weren't just focused on the cancer cells themselves.
Yep.
They were looking at the microbes hanging out in tumor tissue nearby healthy tissue and blood samples from patients with 23 different types of cancer.
So they were looking for a microbial fingerprint for each type of cancer.
Precisely, they wanted to see if there were any unique microbial patterns linked to different cancers. And you know what? They found something really interesting.
What's that?
They discovered that the types of microbes present could actually vary depending on the type of cancer.
Wait, so the microbes in a lung tumor might look different from the microbes in, say, a colon tumor.
You got it. Almost like each type of cancer has its own unique microbial signature, which could have huge implications for how we diagnose and treat cancer in the future.
It seems like different cancers might have unique microbial fingerprints, too. That's incredible. But
Yeah.
how did they even begin to make sense of all that data? I mean, we're talking about trillions of microbes.
Right. It's a massive amount of data. To tackle this, they used a two-part system. First, they pinpointed microbes that were unique to specific locations. Like some microbes might only hang out in tumor tissue while others prefer the blood. They were looking for specialists, not generalists.
Interesting. So once they identified the specialists, what did they do with that information?
Next, they analyzed how these specialized microbes were distributed across different cancer types. They used something called the Specificity Diversity Framework, or SDF. It's basically a way to measure how specialized these microbial communities are within each type of cancer.
Okay, so they looked for unique microbes and then analyzed their distribution across different cancers. I'm with you so far.
Yeah.
What kind of patterns did they find? Give me an example.
Let's take colon cancer. The researchers found clear differences in the types of archaea bacteria and viruses present in tumor tissue compared to nearby healthy tissue. But here's the really interesting part. They even saw different patterns depending on whether they were looking at the microbe's DNA or their RNA.
Hold on, DNA versus RNA. Why does that matter?
Think of it this way. DNA is like a blueprint, the set of instructions that determines what an organism is. RNA, on the other hand, is more like the construction crew actually carrying out those instructions and building the structure.
Okay.
So by looking at both DNA and RNA, the researchers got a more complete picture of what these microbes were up to in the tumor microenvironment.
And what did those different patterns in colon cancer suggest?
The differences between the DNA and RNA suggest that these microbes might be actively influencing the tumor's development. But it's not just about what microbes are present, it's also about how they interact with each other within the tumor.
Microbes forming their own little societies.
Well, kind of. They use something called network analysis to map out the relationships between different microbial species, kind of like a social network, but for bacteria and viruses.
This is like a microbial Facebook. I love it.
Exactly. And what they found was that in tumor tissue, this network was much more interconnected than in healthy tissue. Imagine a bustling city versus a quiet suburb. There are just more interactions happening within the tumor environment.
Fascinating. So it's like the tumor is this bustling city where microbes are constantly interacting and forming relationships, while healthy tissue is more like a sleepy suburb.
Mm.
But why are these microbial interactions in tumor tissue so different? What's going on there?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And
Yeah.
that's what we'll dive into next time.
Okay, now I'm really hooked. Don't leave us hanging. So last time we left off with this image of a tumor as like a bustling city of microbes. What's the deal with all this microbial networking? How do microbes interact in healthy tissue versus tumor tissue?
It's like in healthy tissue, microbes are more like independent contractors,
Yeah.
each doing their own thing, maybe collaborating occasionally. But in a tumor, they've formed a tightly knit team working towards a common goal, the tumor's survival.
So it's not necessarily the microbes are intentionally helping the tumor grow right, but their interactions somehow benefit the tumor environment.
Exactly. And the study found some pretty compelling evidence for this. Remember how we talked about network analysis? Well, they discovered that even the most connected microbe, the one at the heart of all the action, shifted in tumor tissue.
Oh yeah, you were saying something about that earlier. So who's running the show in the tumor?
In healthy tissue, the most connected microbe was a virus. But in the tumor, the head honcho switched to bacteria. It's like there was a total power shift in the microbial world.
Wow, a hostile takeover by the bacteria. But why does this shift to bacterial dominance even matter?
Well, it suggests that the tumor environment favors certain types of microbes and their interactions, which could be impacting how the tumor grows and survives. This is where things get really interesting in terms of potential cancer therapies.
Okay, now we're talking. Could we actually manipulate the microbiome to fight cancer?
It's a possibility scientists are exploring right now. Imagine a world where we could develop treatments that target these microbial interactions, essentially disrupting the tumor's support system from the inside out.
That would be incredible. No more harsh chemo or invasive surgeries, just a little microbial tune-up. But let's get real. This is still early stage research, right?
You're right, we're just scratching the surface. There's still so much we don't know. For example, we need more research to understand exactly how these microbial interactions are influencing tumor development. What are the specific mechanisms at play?
And how do things like diet and lifestyle play into all of this? We know those things can impact our gut microbiome. So could they also be influencing the microbial communities in tumors?
That's a fantastic question, and it's an area of active research. There's a lot of interest in understanding how factors like diet stress and even exposure to environmental toxins might be influencing the microbiome and its relationship with cancer.
It sounds like there's a whole universe of microbial interactions happening inside us that we're just beginning to uncover. This is all pretty heavy stuff. Let's bring it back to our listener. What's the key takeaway here?
What's fascinating here is that we might have been overlooking a crucial piece of the cancer puzzle. The microbes living within us, especially those in the tumor microenvironment, could hold the key to unlocking new, more effective cancer treatments.
So this research could potentially change how we diagnose, treat, and even prevent cancer in the future.
Exactly. By understanding the language of the microbiome, we could potentially develop personalized cancer therapies that are more effective and less toxic than current treatments.
Okay, I'm not going to lie, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's dive into some of the challenges and limitations of this research. What are some of the hurdles scientists still need to overcome?
One of the biggest challenges is the sheer complexity of the microbiome. We're talking about trillions of microorganisms interacting with each other and with their human host. It's incredibly complex.
So like trying to map out all the conversations happening in a city at any given time.
Exactly. And each individual's microbiome is unique, making it even more challenging to identify universal patterns and develop broadly applicable treatments.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not like we can just take a probiotic and call it a day.
Not quite. But researchers are making significant strides in developing tools and technologies to better understand and manipulate the microbiome.
So what's next for this research? Where do we go from here?
One exciting area of research is looking at how we can modify the microbiome to enhance the effectiveness of existing cancer treatments like chemotherapy and immunotherapy.
So instead of just targeting the cancer cells directly, we could also manipulate the tumor's environment to make it less hospitable.
Exactly. We could potentially use the microbiome to weaken the tumor's defenses and make it more susceptible to treatment.
Okay, now that's some next level stuff. So we've been talking about boosting cancer treatments, but what about prevention? Could we analyze someone's microbiome and identify potential cancer risks before a tumor even forms?
That's the holy grail, isn't it? And while we're not there yet, early detection is definitely possible. Imagine a simple blood test that could tell you if your microbiome is showing signs of increased cancer risk.
Wow, no more waiting for symptoms or invasive biopsies? Just a quick microbiome checkup. So what's the timeline on all of this? When can we expect to see these microbiome-based therapies and diagnostic tools?
It's tough to put an exact timeline on scientific discovery, but the pace of research in this field is accelerating. We're already seeing clinical trials testing microbiome-based therapies for cancers.
That's so exciting. So the future of cancer treatment might be more personalized, more targeted, and hopefully less reliant on harsh treatments like chemotherapy.
Absolutely. By understanding and working with our internal microbial ecosystems, we have the potential to revolutionize cancer care. It's a whole new frontier.
We've been focusing on the microbes inside our bodies. But what about the microbes all around us in our environment? Could those microbes also be playing a role in cancer development, for better or worse? It really makes you think about the world in a new way.
It does. The microscopic world is teeming with possibilities, and we're only just beginning to unlock its secrets.
It's been amazing exploring this with you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the microbiome. See you next time.